Have you ever like watched a car wreck before? Or see like a building implode with like a demolition? And you're like, oh my God, this is so crazy, such destruction. But you can't like look away. You have to see it fall apart. You have to see it implode, blow up, see the fireworks, you know? You have to see it from start to end. No matter how grisly and awful and terrible said explosion might be. Yeah, that was my experience with Velma season 2. Hold on a minute, Saberspark. Did you just say Velma season 2? They made a second season of this show? Well, technically, no, they did not. They made one season of this show, and then the executives at Warner called it a season 2, which, by the way, is kind of messed up. That's corrupt. Instead of Warner paying for 2 seasons, which would give more benefits and money to the artists who worked on this show, they paid them for 1 season, but are now advertising it as 2 seasons. That's messed up. That happened to Cuphead as well with Netflix. No matter how bad a show might be, artists being taken advantage of is never a cool thing. So, hey, another arrow in the quiver of Warner Brothers bullshit, I suppose. I digress. Let's talk about Velma season 2, quote unquote. Now, initially, I did not care that the finale for the first season, the closure, came out. I mean, in the back of my head, I was curious, like, oh, I wonder how they end it, but not to the point where I'm like, I have to do a video. I have to watch this. I have to talk about it. I only cared when I saw on Twitter, by happenstance, a spoiler for the finale, which, by the way, spoiler warning right now, giving you a heads up for the 3 people who care, Velma dies. She gets killed by, you ready? Scrappy-Doo. Yes, Scrappy-Doo shows up in part 2 and kills Velma. At that moment, I'm like, okay, I gotta watch this. To my example at the start of this video, I had to see the end of this train wreck. So I did. I watched all 10 episodes, and I started having those feelings again of like, wow, there's a lot about this show I do not like that I mentioned in my first video. Number 1, being the writing. I don't like the characters. I don't like their dialogue. I don't like the story. It all feels very contrived, feels very obnoxious, feels very like just this superiority complex, especially for Velma. She is such a self-insert character for Mindy Kaling, the creator of the show. Oh, Mindy, you were a better writer on The Office, or maybe other writers were better writers on The Office. But here for Velma, the show, I just don't feel any joy. I don't feel anything that makes me happy or invested in your characters. Velma is such a know-it-all, hoity-toity brat. Her jokes, obnoxious. Her relationships, surface level. This entire time, you got this back and forth with Daphne and Velma as girlfriends. And I just feel like there's never a moment that feels sincere between the two. It also does not help that the pacing of this show is at like neck break speeds. Boom, 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 boom. There's so much happening. Cut after cut after cut, scene to scene. I can't slow down to like marinate in a scene at all or in the characters to actually absorb them and their stakes or their motives or their growth. It just keeps moving too quickly. And we are told, not really shown, how these characters evolve or grow. Just multiple scenes of Daphne and Velma being like, you're my girlfriend, but I'm angry at you. But I shouldn't be angry at you, but I'm angry at you. Bah! This show is definitely a teenage romantic drama with the love triangle or circle or pentagram. But to me, just told. We're just told about it. And we're not really shown. And that just makes it, again, very insincere. And also, like, a lot to keep up with. Because the story itself, the mystery being, like, unraveled, I can't keep up with it. I don't know what's happening. There's too much. And there's moments where I'm watching the show sincerely, trying to pay attention, trying to follow along. And I'm like, what's happening?
Stand up to the witches! Remove your britches!
Let's talk about the chaotic world of underwear drawers. Yes, we're doing this. They're like the Wild West of wardrobes. No rules, just randomness. You've got pairs from your birthdays, from Christmases, and who knows where else. But since MeUndies has come into my life, I can say goodbye to that pair with 4 holes in them. We all got that pair, the one we're not too proud about. But nowadays, in my underwear drawer, MeUndies is all I reach for. And honestly, I feel off if I try to wear anything else. Not that I don't wash my underpants, I do. Just that the pairs from MeUndies is much better. Like, real talk, I'm at this age where I just prefer the finer things in life. Wines, cheeses, underpants. I gotta wear these things all day. So you better believe I want the best, most comfortable pair I can get my hands on. And MeUndies absolutely checks that box. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing them right now while recording this video. And I'm like, man, I can never go back to my old pair. Yes, the one with the 5 holes in them. I'm gonna burn that pair, as a matter of fact. And MeUndies has a style for everyone. Whether you're into classic all black or fun and expressive prints, they've got you covered, literally. And the best part? They come in sizes extra small to 4XL, ensuring a flattering fit for everybody. But MeUndies is not just about underwear. Their lounge collection is on point. From joggers to hoodies to onesies. They've got everything you need for ultimate comfort at home. And speaking of comfort, I'm not overlooking this one, folks. MeUndies' signature fabric is like a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Soft, breathable, and stretchy. It's the kind of comfort you can wear all day, every day. And here's the thing with MeUndies. It gets even better. They care about where their materials come from. They use sustainably sourced materials and partner with companies that prioritize the well-being of their workers. With the way things are going these days, this is something I can wholeheartedly appreciate. But hey, if you're not happy with your first pair of undies, MeUndies has got your back. Or maybe your sack. Hey, it's on them to make sure you're satisfied. Not happy with your package? Or their package in this case? Then it's on MeUndies. That's the problem-free philosophy they live by. I live by the philosophy of bad puns. So, good things come in big packages at MeUndies. And now here's my surprise package reveal. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Saberspark. Thanks again to MeUndies for sponsoring this video, and say goodbye to the chaos of your underwear drawer, and hello to the comfort of MeUndies. Trust me, once you try them, you'll never go back. Now I'm gonna stop talking about my junk, and instead talk about this junk.
What is happening?
Oh, here's another relative of a character showing up. That happens all the time in the show. Velma goes, my dad. Oh, it's my mom. Fred, it's your dad. Norval, it's your grandma. Norval, it's your dad. Who are these characters? There's too many characters in the show. Which is funny because they're missing Scooby. Uncle Scooby is in the show, but he's like this mysterious masked character. It's not actually Scooby, Thank God Scooby was able to escape this. But instead we get Scrappy, which I'll explain here in a bit. But yeah, ultimately, the story being unraveled, the back and forth of the dialogue, trying to grow these characters, just excruciating. I don't like it. The only character who I felt like was any good compared to the first quote-unquote season, an improvement, if you will, is Fred. Again, Velma's obnoxious. Norval's kind of uptight. Daphne, just superficial and vapid. But Fred here, who's struggling with this mommy complex he has, actually grows to be his own man and becomes less of an asshole and a bit more empathetic and sweet to his friends. I'm like, wow, this is not bad. It's not good, but it's better compared to Velma, who's like, there is no God, and the rich are ruining everything. Wait, I'm rich now. I'm gonna ruin everything. Oh, also, blah, 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 blah. Religion's bad, and it's the opiates of the masses. It's like, okay, I don't disagree with some of these points, but I don't want to hear it from you because you're an obnoxious teenager, and no matter what you say, pro or con or whatever, I don't want to hear it because it's obnoxious. Velma's just that unlikable of a character, and she does not improve at all throughout the entire duration of season 2. Oh my God. So Twitter shit its pants with this. A Hex girl shows up, and she's older in this show. And Twitter's like, oh my God, they ruined the Hex girl. I'm like, no, she got older. that's like, what's the big deal here? You have folks on Twitter like almost implying like for the public execution of the folks who worked on this show, or at least their, jobs, being like, this is the worst. I don't care if these folks lose their jobs. They deserve it. It's like, it's just an older woman hex girl. Calm down. There's moments where it's like, I'm not happy with this show. It's not good, but my God, calm down. Like, the artists who work on this show are doing jobs. Same thing with a lot of the other folks involved. If you want to take issue with Mindy, the show creators, the head executives, the head writers. Talk to them, focus on them. They're the ones who have the mantle of responsibility. But as far as like people who are just like, hey, I do in-betweens, I do cleanups, I'm doing some of the character designs, artists are just doing their jobs. Cool off. I think the art direction for the show is pretty damn good. The animation can be kind of, wonky here and there and static, though also at times surprisingly fluid. There was a scene where Norval got like his eye like penetrated by some like ghost finger, and it was very visceral. I look away, I was like, ah! And I watched it again, I'm like, wow, this looks very good. This is fluid, good animation. So the show has its moments visually. The visuals aren't the main issue of the show. And I said this in my first review for Velma, I have no problem with the race swapping. Who cares? That's not the problem. It is the writing of the characters, what they're about, the journey they go on. Are they likable? Are they fun? Things you can write fun, unlikable characters. Always Sunny in Philadelphia is like a quintessential example. Even characters from The Office, like Michael Scott, can be an absolute ass at times, but still, you can feel empathetic enough to him or have fun with him being obnoxious and seeing comeuppance. But for Velma, it's like, no, it's just nothing but obnoxious behavior, and I don't feel invested in your character arc. Which, by the way, is like, I guess ghosts do exist. Okay, let's talk about that then. So Scrappy shows up at the end of the show. This entire time, Scrappy was the one behind the murders. Scrappy was part of some military project to like spy on kids. He started killing these men who were involved in the project itself. There's also like this mom character of Velma, like her stepmother, who was also involved on the murders as well. I had a hunch it was her, but she was also involved in the military, and I guess she was caught up in these affairs. But like ultimately, Scrappy is this experiment gone wild who starts biting off the dicks of people, who starts going on a manslaughter, manipulating Velma, and ultimately killed Velma. And Scrappy, though, he was like possessed by Velma at the end, and that like placated him or pacified him, I guess. I don't know. He was defeated, but Velma's dead. So here's the thing is like at the end of the show, Velma's like, I'm sorry, Daphne, even though you've become a bit more of an astrologist and more involved with the occult, maybe the supernatural does exist because I'm a ghost. And also Fred wasn't wrong about his mom being a ghost, and there is an afterlife. And at the end of the show, it's like, okay, are we wrapping this up? There's a loose end. So currently, as it stands, there could be a season 2 of Velma officially. Not one season cut in half, but an actual season 2. And I'm sure some folks right now are like, Saberspark, you're talking about it. You're giving it attention. It's gonna create a season 2. Guys, you give me far too much credit for my reach, all right? Whether it be folks on Twitter or folks here on YouTube, there is a massive demographic of folks who actually watch this outside of the social media, who are the ones who mostly decide if there's going to be a second season. And they're not watching this video. I mean, if anything, this video should convince folks to not watch it, because I don't think it's worth checking out. Go watch Mystery Incorporated. That was much more nuanced. They actually took the characters of the Scooby-Doo franchise and did something very different with them that felt rewarding but familiar. Because like currently with the Velma show, it's like you ruined Velma, you ruined Daphne. Fred felt obnoxious as well, but at least he had a little bit more of a character arc at the end. Norval's here too? Okay. There's Easter eggs for other Scooby-Doo characters? Okay, fine. It was not a fun show. That's the thing. It's hard to have fun with this series because it's so full of itself and sounds like holier than thou or smarter than you or trying to be smarter. Oh, keep up with our witty dialogue and our observation humor, and we're always breaking the fourth wall as far as our meta commentary and writing goes. Okay, Fine, but can we have an immersive, sincere moment, please? Please? So I can feel invested in the story or the characters whatsoever? Just once? We got it once, kind of, with like Fred, again, rising up to his mother. That's about it. I guess we get Scrappy-Doo, which on a meta way, there is some humor to that, where it's like, okay, what do we do? Bring in Scrappy. Okay, that kind of harkens back to the old school days where they're like, how do we improve ratings? Bring in Scrappy-Doo. So I do find that amusing. I do find it funny that Velma was killed by Scrappy, but ultimately, this does not feel like a love letter to the Scooby-Doo franchise. It feels more like a threatening letter instead from some ex who's still stalking you and creeping on you. So ultimately, those are my thoughts on Velma, quote-unquote, Season 2. It's not worth checking out. It's not the war crime we think it is either, but it's not good. It should serve as a reminder that when you're trying to do your own take on a franchise that's an evergreen franchise, you gotta bring something sincere to the table. Velma, there is no fun. There is no sincerity. It's just way too obnoxious for its own good. So, will they make a Season 2? Maybe, probably. When it comes to Hollywood, when the right names are attached to a project, that's usually enough to push the needle for executives to go, oh, Mindy's a part of it? Okay, sure, we'll do it. Versus taking a risk or a leap of faith with something that might be much more substantial and worthy of that, potential, like Coyote versus Acme. But then they go, no, it's more of a liability. We don't want to take a risk. We want some reassurance. We don't want to waste money. Get rid of it. So in that vein, it sucks. Sucks to suck. And maybe eventually Warner will wake up to the fact that they need creative people and artists and to take risk in order to create a new renaissance of entertainment for their streaming service and shows and movies for audiences to watch. So I don't know what the future holds, but hopefully it's not Velma Season 2. And hopefully we see a return to form where they actually do properly invest and support artists who are willing to bring their creativity and their fun to the table and let them do what they do best, make art. Because Velma 2 is not art. It is a car crash in slow motion with a high body count that somehow includes Scrappy-Doo.
Who's really the villain here? Them? Or me?
You are.